Now that we can find our way around a piano keyboard, I want to talk about musical notation. Musical notation is how we write music and how we read music. And let's start with this page right here. And on this page, you see we have a bunch of parallel lines that are running from left to right. And those parallel lines sort of organize themselves into groups like this right here and like this down here. Each of these groups of parallel lines is known as a staff. And the staff is going to be one of the most important musical tools that we have for notation. A staff, first of all, has 5 parallel lines. And I'm going to number these lines from 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in between those lines are spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. And that's important because we're going to be using both the lines and the spaces for notation. The basic symbol that we're going to be using, or the most common symbol we'll be using, is the note head. And the note head is simply an oval symbol that tells a performer to play a note. And I can take a note head and put it on any one of the lines or spaces of the staff. For instance, I could put a note head on the second space. Here is a note head on the second space. I could put a note head on the second line. Here's a note head on the second line. And if a performer plays a note on the second space and then there is a note on the second line below it, that tells the performer to go one note down from where they are. And I can go in the opposite direction too. I could tell the performer to play one note higher than the note that they are on, and then another note higher than that if I go up to the third space. The problem is we don't know which notes of the piano keyboard the lines and spaces refer to. So for that, we're going to need a key, almost like how a map has a key, the part of the map that tells us what all the symbols mean. We need a key as well to the staff to tell us what all of those lines and spaces are going to mean. And that key is going to be a musical symbol called the clef. In fact, that word clef comes from the French word for key. So I'm going to draw a clef, this musical symbol that is going to tell us what all those lines and spaces mean. And you may have seen this musical symbol before. This is a treble clef, or sometimes known as a G clef. And it's called a G clef. When it's called a G clef, it's called a G clef because this clef tells us something really important. It tells us that the second line of the staff, meaning this line right here where the note head is sitting, is going to be the note G. And not just any note G, but specifically the G that is above middle C. So if we go back down to the piano keyboard here, just to reorient ourselves, here's middle C. This is the 4th C from the bottom. That's middle C. And 5 notes above that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is G. C, D, E, F, G. So this note right here is G. So that note head that sits on the second line tells us, play the note G above middle C. So if we know that, we can actually figure out what the rest of these note heads mean. So as we go one up from the G, this symbol means play the note that's right above, which is A. If we go up to the third line, that means play the note that is right above, which is B. If we go to the space above that, the third space, that says play the note C. And we can actually keep going from here. We can go to this next line, to the 4th line, which says play D, and the next space, which says play E, And then this final line up at the top, I can squeeze in here, which says play F. And I can go in the opposite direction, too. I can go, if I'm starting from the G here, the second line, I can go down one space from the G to that first space, and that means play F. And then finally, I can go to that first line, and that will mean to play, I'll tell the performer to play the note E. So, just to sort of, again, reorient ourselves on the piano keyboard, if I use all the lines and spaces on the clef, I'm going to start at this E right here, and I can go all the way up to this F right here. So this is sort of the bound right here of the treble clef on the keyboard. Let me play this for you just to keep us grounded. It's always good to make sure that we understand what our ear is hearing when we see these symbols. So I'm going to start on the E on the very left here, go to the F, the G, the A, the B, the C, the D, the E, and the F. Now, that's not very much of the piano keyboard, is it? That's only really just an octave plus one note. There are all these notes that are sort of up here on the piano keyboard, and then there's all these notes that are down here in the piano keyboard. How are we going to reach those notes? Well, that is going to be the subject of the next video. So I will see you there in the next video.